Okay, can I have everyone's attention? We're going to start the night. My name's Mark Sauter. Can everyone hear? Okay, great. So I'm the president of the Merrymount Association, so thank you all for coming down tonight. Thank you to the other board members who are helping out. Thank you to the Hobomack Road family who is working the shack tonight. That will be going Taco Tuesday, so if you're hungry, head on over there. They've got drinks, desserts, all of that. Thank you to all the candidates who are here tonight. We have 7 candidates running for the 3 at-large spots this fall. And you know, it's an important election. The mayor's not on the race, but there's still some important issues facing the city. Balancing the residential development with the traffic concerns that come with that. Dealing with opioid crisis still that's impacting our city in the South Shore. Dealing with environmental issues being on the coast. So hopefully we can hear from the candidates about all those issues and more tonight. Thank you to people who came down tonight and who have brought donations to Interfaith Social Services. We're going to make that donation, and then next week we're doing the Ward 1 candidate night again. We're going to be asking for donations for the Germantown Food Pantry, so bring something down for that. And then we're going to be doing, that's next Wednesday night. September 7th, we're going to be doing the school committee meet the candidate night. And we'll be bringing in donations for Dove, which is a domestic violence charity. So please bring some stuff down for that. And so a little bit of background here. We have a primary for the Ward 1 candidates and for Ward 3 and Ward 6. Also, obviously, a primary for the Councillor at Large candidates. That's going to be Tuesday, September 12th. The last day to register to vote is August 23rd. So if anyone's not sure if they're registered and want to get that checked out, I'm sure to talk to any of the candidates or talk to me afterwards. So like I said, we've got a strong field of candidates. We've got current Councillor at Large candidates running again. We have current city councilors, former city councilors. We have a school committee woman. And we have a couple candidates running for the first time. And I've met almost all of these candidates. I know many of you have all met them. We all know that they are dedicated and committed to this city, and we know that running for office is a huge investment of time, of energy, of money. It's a sacrifice to their families, so please be respectful to each of these candidates tonight. Give them your attention. We do have some questions that people have submitted, so I'm going to try to handle those questions, but if we have time, we'll ask the audience for some more questions. But we are somewhat on a deadline with the sun setting here tonight and the bugs coming out. So I'm going to stop talking here. I'll just remind the candidates that they each have 12 minutes on the microphone, 5 to 8 minutes to introduce themselves, however much time they want to use for that. And then we're going to try to get a couple questions in for them also. So I don't have a sign, so I'll try to give them their attention when it's time to give up the microphone. But let's get started with former Ward 2 Councillor Dan Raimondi.
Thank you, Mark. Can you all hear me? Thank you. Thank you all for coming. This is terrific. You know, I've been doing this for quite a while. It's my first candidate's night outside, especially at a beach. So, congratulations, Mark. Merrymount Association. My fellow candidates, their supporters, friends all. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. By way of background, I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Quincy. The education and training that I got right here in my home city enabled me to graduate from Holy Cross College and Boston College Law School. I owe a lot to the Quincy Public Schools in much of my public career, and even as a private attorney. Has been as a strong advocate for our schools. Back in the 1980s, those of us who were around during that period of time, we had something that was called Proposition 2.5. It's still here. And that had a devastating impact on most schools across the Commonwealth, but in particular, the Quincy Public Schools. I ran for office in the early 1990s to restore confidence in our system, to rebuild our school system. Funds had been cut for maintenance, funds had been cut for repairs. We were closing school buildings, and I thought that we needed to reverse that trend. In that 4-year period, the last two being elected vice chair by my colleagues, we did turn things around, working with neighborhood groups like the Merrymount Association, working with parent groups, my colleagues in government, Mayor Sheets at the time, and the superintendent of schools, Eugene Creedon. We began the process of changing the culture from closing and lack of funding to opening schools, renovating schools, and continuing funding. We opened up the Bernazani. We built the Marshall School. We built the Early Childhood Center. We opened up Beechwood. We rebuilt the Quincy Point Middle School. And that trend continues today. So even though I'm no longer on the committee, but as a city councilor, I watched as now we have the new Quincy High School, the new Central, and we're working on Sterling. So that's the kind of aggressive, heartfelt leadership that I bring to this race. Recognizing a problem, not being afraid to stand up and getting things done. As a candidate in this race, I'm not going to speak for my other colleagues, but we all probably can agree that there are 4 major departments in the city that we feel are the top priorities. You may have different priorities, but pretty much most of us tonight would say these are the top 4. Schools, police, fire, and of course, DPW. As a resident and as a city councilor, I had other issues that I was very concerned about because of the quality of life enhancement that these issues have. 1, beaches. 2, seawalls. Tree plantings. Wetland maintenance and restoration, things that don't ordinarily get attention during a budget cycle and clearly don't get attention when there's an economic downturn. And I wanted to find a funding source that would enable us to continue to grow and be enhanced and make these improvements that are so vital. All of you folks are here because of the wonderful 27 miles of beachfront that we have within the city of Quincy, and that was my goal. That we'd no longer have to sit as a city council and a mayor and debate whether we would have funding to do these kinds of things that may not be priorities within certain public officials. So I wrote Quincy's hotel motel legislation. I've got copies there to show you. We moved it through the city council, passed the legislature, passed the Senate, signed by the governor. Now, how many folks think that landmark legislation brought $1 million into the city coffers? How many think 5 million? How many think 10 million? Well, the number is $15 million. Now that's money that you're not paying. It's paid by visitors to our city. That's the kind of leadership that I bring to this race. Recognizing a problem, not asking you as taxpayers having difficult times making ends meet, kids going off to school, high cost of health care, and all the rest. I found an independent funding source, and it wasn't easy. There was tremendous opposition to that. In addition to those effective means of repairs, and we've done a lot over the past couple of years with that funding source, 15% is earmarked to tourism. So not only do we take care of our beaches and our ecological assets, tree plantings and things like that, improvement to our parks, playgrounds, we enhance the economic vitality of downtown by creating a fund for tourism. And how many city councils back in 1990, 2000, 2005 would have voted a lot of money for tourism when we've got schools, public safety, police, fire, all right? So that's the kind of leadership that I bring to this race. We all know that there are seniors within our community that need our help. Many are house rich and cash poor. My advocacy for these folks didn't stop by just talking about it. I wrote Quincy's Senior Workers Abatement Program. That has 2 benefits. It takes a senior, mature worker who's retired and having invested all that time in a particular career, whether it's clerical, management, accounting, and the city gets that service. So it's good for the senior. It gets them back into the workforce. They'll learn about the city, and we get that asset. We get that talent. and we enable them to work off a portion of their real estate tax bill. I wrote that law, and it is now, and hundreds of seniors have been benefited from that. We need to do more. We need to do much more. There's also a tax credit that's available in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I was one of the first elected officials in Quincy to advocate for seniors to do that. And many seniors have taken advantage of that. It's a tax credit, irrespective as to whether you pay income taxes or not. It's a nice little benefit. If your real estate taxes and rental are a certain proportion of your income, the Commonwealth may very well give you a check. So this is the activism that I bring to this race. For the last 6 years, I've been your Commissioner of Public Works. So my career has been as a private attorney. It's been a combination of a private attorney and public service. I've been on the Park Recreation Board. I've been on the school committee 2 different times. I've been elected vice chair of the school committee. I've been a ward council for 22 years, so I know all the issues that your next ward council will go through, and I'm more than willing to assist that person to help him navigate the many, many issues. I've been a county treasurer for a term, and now I'm running for this valuable position. And the last 6 years, I've been your Commissioner of Public Works. And there's only so much that I can do as a commissioner, and I wanted to get back into the policy. We need to spend more money on our roads. The key is perhaps not on the backs of the taxpayers of Quincy, but we need to spend more money. We need to get that level of appropriation up to $3 to $5 million. We have too many 100-year-old water mains that need to be replaced. And when you replace a water main, you need to fix the road. So I'm an infrastructure guy. When things are moving normally, nobody sees the ill effects if you don't get water or if there's a sewage problem within a particular area. And I just want to leave you with the last thought. I've also been a prosecutor in Norfolk County and a public defender in Norfolk County. That's why someone said that I look remarkably well for someone who's 140 years old. But I've really done all these things, you know. As a prosecutor, I know firsthand the impacts that crime has on individuals, on families, and in particular on neighborhoods, communities, and this city. And that's why I wrote, again, very controversial. Some folks didn't like it at the time. Now it's one of the most heralded, successful programs in the city. We call it community policing. Typically, your police department reacts to crime. Somebody makes a call, they come down, and they respond to a particular call. And our police department is among the best. And there's also a proactive component to some of that. But I introduced, and I wrote an ordinance that brought community policing formally to the city of Quincy. And what that is all about is that with all the data that the police collect, they would identify those areas that are pockets that generate crime. It could be a beach. It could be a neighborhood. It could be a store. It could be a house. And with all the talent of the police department and all the resources, the community police officers working with neighborhoods, with schools, with parents, would move resources into a particular area to eradicate those conditions that are generating crime. Every family in Quincy should be safe in their home. So I'm a proponent to increased police protection, in particular within our neighborhoods and within the downtown. So I'm someone who cares passionately about the issues that I care about. Obviously, I care about our schools. I owe a debt of gratitude to the Quincy Public Schools. I wouldn't have had the life and career that I've had without the teachers and professionals that I had throughout the city, and in particular Quincy High School back in the day.
Dan, can I cut in?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we're just gonna want to have time for one question for you here,
Oh,
okay?
sure, I'm sorry.
No problem. We ask you, this was something that was submitted, what is your position and plan towards the Four River compressor station that's been in the news much lately?
Thank you. I'm against the station. I'm appreciative that Weymouth has organized and that Quincy has taken the lead on it, that Mayor Koch has provided resources with that. Some of the reports that have come out about the ill effects and the quality of air not only in the Weymouth area, but also within the city of Quincy. I think it's troubling. I think it's good that Governor Baker has slowed down the process a bit to allow these communities to gather additional resources to fight this station. Not only would it have an ill effect upon both communities outside the economic area, but I think economically, value of homes and all that, I think it would have a devastating impact. So I support the action by Weymouth and Quincy teaming together to fight the station.
Okay, that's Dan's 12 minutes, so can we hear a round of applause for him, please?
Seemed like two.
But Dan, if you want to stick around and talk to more people, please do. Thank you. So next we're going to have our current Ward 1 Councillor Margaret LaForest come up to the mic.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Margaret LaForest, and I'm currently the Ward 1 City Councillor. We'll go left. Is that better for you? Everyone out here okay? So I'm very honored to serve as the representative for Ward 1. Ward 1 is made up of some of the strongest neighborhoods in the city. When I got involved in office, I was the president of the HouseNet Community Council, and we were running the Chowder Fest and events, and it was a real strong sense of community, and I knew I wanted to do more to serve this city, and ran for office in Ward 1. I'm very honored. It's been 4 terms of service. When I first ran, one of the things I prided myself on was protecting the integrity of the neighborhood. And that's not campaign literature. That's really what that particular job as a ward councillor is about. Just recently, there was an issue that has been something I battled all 8 years in office, and it was in Merrymount. And I heard loud and clear from many of the residents about converting, subdividing a lot, putting a 2-family and a single-family lot. And to me, that changes the character. When you've got owner-occupied single-family homes, you need to step up and voice. And I have been at every zoning board meeting to oppose that through 8 years in office. The other thing I really prided myself on was communication and accessibility. I wanted people to know who I was in the community and feel comfortable coming up to me and talking to me about their concerns. How many, by show of hands, are connected to me on my email database? And how about on social media? Okay, so I do have a volunteer in the audience with a clipboard, and I ask that they pass that around. One of the most important things for me to do is to be able to communicate with you and to you to reach me. I send an e-newsletter, and I think this is something that is really up the bar as far as local office, is sending out e-newsletters on a regular basis about issues of importance right here in your backyard in the city of Quincy. So whether it's a neighborhood issue, whether it's a zoning board issue, a development proposal, or what's happening in the neighborhood, as your elected representative, I think it's very important that you have a voice, you express your concerns, and we stay in communication. So quite frequently, the emails go out and hundreds of emails come back in. But it's important with what we need to be working on that you're involved and engaged. Some of the work that we've done here in Ward 1 is about improving the parks. So some of the proudest projects we've worked on is the Broadmeadows Marsh, and I didn't see any of our history girls, but Merrymount was very active in the Passagonesset Knoll, and we're really proud of that project coming online. We have the basketball courts over in Narragansett, and one of the things I'm very excited to be working on now is Quincy's first dog park. Any pet owners in the audience? My first campaign promise to my daughter, she says, Mom, you're running for office, and we had a family meeting, and I said, it's gonna be a sacrifice. And 12 years old, Krista says to me, well, you should sacrifice for me, and we want a dog. So Sydney, the super pup, is a very active part of the LaForest campaign team. But I'm very proud. It's important for the city and for the quality of life. The pets add a great love to our family to be working on Quincy's first dog park. I worked with the mayor's office writing that grant, and we're working on the new animal shelter facility. There's currently some votes pending in the city council on that project. Hottest topic for me as a ward councillor, working on your behalf, and something that tremendously had an impact on Merrymount neighborhood. How many of you have been, were, or are in the flood zone? Wow, interesting short show of hands on this, because this was something that hit Merrymount very hard when FEMA changed those flood maps. A whole section of Virginia Road, a whole area around Merrymount School that had never been in the flood zone got added to the flood zone. That's something we've been working tirelessly on your behalf. So I'm very excited to say in the past couple of weeks we've received 60 successful letters of map amendments taking families' properties out of the flood zone and saving them thousands of dollars in flood insurance. The other project that we talked about, obviously, storm response is something that's particularly difficult for this neighborhood as far as what you're getting hit with. Anyone go to the seawall meeting that we had? Anyone on Chickatobit, Shore intersection, Norton Road? So that's an area that we've been advocating for seawall repairs. Typically when a nor'easter comes or hurricanes are coming, Merrymount has a section of the coastline that's getting very hard hit. We've got homes that have repetitive losses, and we're working very hard. We have funding secured. I actually toured with the engineering company, the Quincy's coastline, to talk about the best areas to advocate for these grants. And the repetitive loss section of Merrymount, of the intersection of Shore, Chickatobit, and Norton, all the way down picking up Post Island and into the Willows of Howe's Neck that cuts off thousands of homes during a storm, was selected for this federal grant. So we're very excited to be working on that project. You'll be getting an email for those on the email list in the next couple days. We just launched the app. Big part of it is engagement. I keep coming back to this. You've lived here, many of you have lived here for generations. We want to know what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you've experienced, and to incorporate that historical data into the project planning. So that's something you'll be able to load up videos, photos, text, whatever it is that you can help us make the best design as we go forward to make these infrastructure improvements in the area. One of the biggest challenges I think that we face, transportation. The entire South Shore is coming through Quincy twice a day. Whether it's the MBTA and it's finally our time to get these funds in station improvements, it's really going to cause us some difficulties in an area that's already overtaxed and over capacity. We've been advocating very strong to get ferry service restored out of Marina Bay. The water makes a great transportation highway, direct access to Boston. The C Street Quincy Shore Drive, we thought, oh, this is great. We got funding in place, and we're looking at the C Street corridor improvements. It is the slowest project I've ever been involved in. I wish I had something better to say for you, because it's a failing intersection. It's one we're aware of. It's a state-controlled intersection. The traffic's cutting through the neighborhoods have been a real problem for Merrymount as far as the main roads and people cutting through the neighborhoods. So that's been an issue that I really feel strongly the city can do better on. Our traffic infrastructure is quite antiquated. You know, on Wollaston Beach, you hit one light, you hit them all. The traffic signals are timed that way. The traffic signals throughout the city don't talk to each other. We don't have that technology. It's quite antiquated. You literally have to pull the pin out and lift it up and put it in the slot to get the timing adjusted in some of our signals at major intersections throughout the city. So it's something that we're well aware of and need to be doing better on. I think why I'm proud to represent the city of Quincy is how strong we are as a community. My daughter Kelsey's in college and had some of her friends up, and as we were all hanging out, floating in the water at our house, they said, geez, we've never been to a place where people are so proud of where they're from. And they were commenting about Kelsey and her Quincy friends, about how proud they were of our community and how involved we are. Merrymount is a neighborhood that provides that sense of strong community, and something that we hear consistently. People want what we have. Quincy's a city, we have very strong neighborhoods, and we're here and we support each other. Some support I'm asking for you to join me in right now. We're coming off a terrible tragedy in Ward 1 in Germantown. There was a major car accident many of you may have heard of on Palmer Street, and a resident passed away. Tonight I'll be down there at 8 o'clock. There's a candlelight vigil. So I do ask that you keep Alan Dunn's family in your thoughts and prayers. We do have some others involved in the accident, and their GoFundMe page is currently on my social media. We need to be there for each other. Quincy's a city full of strong people in proud neighborhoods, whose integrity I plan to continue to protect and advocate on a citywide scale. Respectfully, I ask for you to consider me for one of your votes this election season. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got about 4 minutes, so we've got a couple questions for you, Margaret.
Okay.
And these are all questions that were submitted. So first question is, and you're probably familiar with this since you're our Ward 1 councillor currently, what is your plan and what is your thoughts in terms of Father Bill's homeless shelter? Do you see it staying in its current location? If not, where do you believe its best location would be? Do you think that it's functioning currently in a sustainable way?
Good question. It definitely has. Father Bill's definitely has an impact. When Father Bill's was set up by Father Bill McCarthy, it was meant for Quincy area residents. We found us being an intake for an area much broader than the city of Quincy. A couple of challenges with it. The highway to Father Bill's. I mean, McDonald's literally has a police detail daily, and it's infiltrating the neighborhood. It's a definite problem. They need services during the day. They don't need, hey, sun's up, get out, come back when it's the lights are out. So Father Bill's as an organization does tremendous work and is good value to the broader community. Its definite location is a challenge. We see that every day. What people need to understand is the Dover Amendment. It's a federal exemption, right? So there's the not in my backyard. Where does Father Bill's go? So Father Bill's qualifies under the Dover Amendment, and they are exempt from local zoning. So they have the right to operate their facilities in any jurisdiction. So I do know that as we're looking at a public safety headquarters, it seems that as that would get constructed, Father Bill's would be displaced. Where it's going, I have not had a conversation with Father Bill's management in regards.
So another question that was submitted, what's your plan to support Quincy residents who may be long-term residents who may be having a difficult time paying increased rental values or increased property values, property real estate tax values?
Yep, so I will say, right now actually Councillor Palmucci has some legislation pending. In the city of Boston, they have legislation that allows a bit of an abatement, I'd call it, for long-term residents. And so that's something that you'll probably see the council debate this fall. What are the programs? We do have some the SWAP program is an abatement program where seniors are able to volunteer their services. For information on that, you can find that out at the Kennedy Center. Property values are rising, and a lot of people, their home is their strongest investment. But it's what I see with Quincy, and I know for myself, I'm never selling my house. So affordability is a major issue.
Okay. Last question. You got about 2 minutes, so
okay.
If you finish it, we can get you another question. But did you support the city's plan to purchase the private parking lot across from Louis in Howe's Neck? If so, do you believe this will lead to other struggling businesses looking for the city to use taxpayer money for a bailout, or do you believe that this was the best possible use of the land for the neighborhood?
Okay, so is everyone familiar with what he's talking about, the Louis parking lot? Okay. So what happened, how this came about, a couple of years ago, I held a neighborhood meeting, and the neighborhood meeting was with the owner of Louis, who said, I would like to subdivide my parking lot and sell it to build condos for development. I will fulfill my parking requirement of my restaurant with parking at Fensmere, which is adjacent to Brill Field, if you're familiar. So the reason they were interested in doing that, a few years ago there was a land court case, the city of Quincy versus the China restaurant in Wollaston, the old Berry Insurance. Are people familiar with Berry? Okay, so that's an area, an insurance agent, doesn't get much foot traffic. They're right in the heart of Wollaston, across from the old alumni, for those who aren't familiar. So the licensing board and the zoning board said to the owner of the China, you may not open. They denied the application. And they said because of parking, that was their concern. The owner of the China sued the city in land court, and the city came back to the city and said, you must grant this permit. The application says, and I have a copy of it if anyone wants to read it, that public parking is available to the customers of the China at the Wollaston MBTA station. Now I'll tell you, nobody has ever parked at the Wollaston MBTA station to go to the China. But the difference, I don't know, the distance is maybe, let's call it a quarter mile. So Fensmere to Louis is literally at the bottom of the hill. It's a closer proximity. So unfortunately, you have a situation where the court is saying public parking is available within X of a distance. They would somewhat qualify under that same exemption. So the neighborhood discussion was this. We, the neighborhood, want a restaurant. We're a peninsula. There's not much happening down at the end. You go into Louis, everyone knows your name. It's like our own version of Cheers. There's a quality of life of having a place the same way Merrymount has the canteen that you're here and you see your neighbors. We have Louis. So the neighbors, the sentiment of the neighborhood was, listen, we need parking in the neighborhood. We don't want any more condos. We, the neighborhood, would like to pursue acquisition of this parking lot. The other puzzle piece in the equation is the project that's going on with the Housing Maritime Center. And this is something, 27 miles of coastline. How many of you are boaters and how many of you have been to Quincy Beach? I'll tell you, my neighborhood, Jim McCarthy's here. We have a group text in our neighborhood. What time high tide is and where to meet. We go for a swim every day. Not me, I'm a little busy, but I try. So getting access, public access to Quincy's coastline is a priority. For a city with so much coastline, a lot of it's privately owned. A lot of you here, this is private land. You pay a membership fee to have the opportunity to use this. We need more public access. The Housing Maritime Center facility is a cinder block building with bars on the windows. Is that what you want for your, access to, public access to the coastline? We're undergoing a project. If you were a boater, you'd understand the boat ramp. 2 hours up and down a high tide, you are able to use this boat ramp. In other communities, all tidal conditions, you're able to use a boat ramp. This is our only public access boat ramp. So in the efforts to rebuild the boat ramp, giving additional time and access, we talked about improving the entire conditions. Our boating safety classes are #1 in the Commonwealth for the number of people who take free boating safety classes at that facility. We've talked about other organizations who use it. The animal shelter uses it for training. So we looked at, here's a public building, here's a public facility, it's a partnership with DCR, it has a trailer parking lot that's horribly laid out and has limited functionality. How can we make it better? So that's a project that we're working on, that I'm very active working on, and hope to have a neighborhood meeting with some plans for the building. But the bottom line with that project is we've since talked with the HouseNet Community Center. HouseNet Community Center was founded in the 70s. It's at 1193 C Street. It shares a building with Manor Health Center. When it started, it was a community center with a room for healthcare. Now it's become a healthcare with a room for community. And we've talked about what's the growth, what's the next 50 years of community space look like for the neighborhood of HouseNet. And we talked about what it is that organization wants. The HouseNet Community Council has voted to relocate and to combine with the HouseNet Maritime Center. So the first floor will be the community center, a lot of the senior program, a lot of the children's programming. The second floor will be the Maritime Center with their classes in the room that will be available more for public use, and some office space for the harbor master as well. They also keep all of their equipment. We've got millions of dollars of equipment. Our marine unit is one of the strongest in this entire region. When you see things happening, or for example, the tall ships, they're all out there. They're all engaged in this response. So we have needs as a community from our public safety standpoint. We have needs as our community from our community involvement. And as community council has operated for 50 years very consistently, puts out a neighborhood newsletter, has their meetings, has their events, and needs a space. So the same way Merrymount has a beach space, they have it. So comes down to, it'll be a shared parking. Vane Street in North Quincy has shared parking. All the restaurants in Quincy Center have shared parking. At the end of HouseNet, we have a very restricted area, yet we have a very social community, and we want to green that up and clean that up and make it the future of the Quincy waterfront. So,
All right. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, give everyone
Thank
a round
you.
of applause. All right, our next candidate is not Joe right here, but he's doing a great job. Our next candidate is Stanley Dong Fang Zhao, which is a first-time candidate. And so come right up to the microphone right over here, and you have your 12 minutes. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, my name is Stanley Dong Fan Xiao, and I was born in China. And when I was 18, I immigrated to United States, and I have been in United States for 30 years. And I come here, I study in Boston University. I didn't complete my college year in Boston College, but then I come back to the Quincy College. I got my law enforcement degree and the association psychology. The reason for me to run for city councilor at large in Quincy because I have a dream. I want to build a beautiful city in Quincy. I'm planning to plant flower in our city. I want to grow flower everywhere in the city. I want to use the undeveloped area, cut the grasses, cut the weed, and plant all the flower seed to the area those are undeveloped. So I want to make it beautiful. I want to make it when people come to Quincy, see the flower everywhere. I want to plant the flower on the roadside and make it everlasting beautiful. Also, I want to make more public garden. I want people, when they walk on the street, they can walk in the garden and pray chairs, do exercise, can have place associate with people, not just because in United States is a private country and all people only walk on the street, stay home or walk on the street. There's no place to sit. And I want to transfer all the, make more public garden and common area for our community, for our senior. I want to make it good for senior people, and I want to provide more service, more help for the senior people so they can gather together, talk, and have someone lead them to do exercise, something like that kind of facility. Also, I want to create job for our people in Quincy, and I want everybody want a job. They can get a job, either volunteer or get paid. I have ways to do that. I want every public agent has to accept all volunteer worker to train them, obligate to our citizens in Quincy to train them, so everybody want to work and get a job. You know, working is a good health and good things to do. It's about life. If you have nothing to do in home, it's not good. And keep working it's about interesting life. It's about spend your time, and you also have money, earn money. So I will provide more facility to train those volunteer to work. Whoever want a job can get a job. That's my plan. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a couple questions for you, all right? So what has been your community involvement in Quincy since you immigrated and moved to the city?
My first community is in North Quincy, and I live in Second Malls, and I don't have much activity there, but after I moved in Germantown, I have a lot of activity. But I was volunteer to taking care of the senior people in the Obama Tower, and I find out they are bored. They have nothing to do then, so I want to do something for them.
So would you support opening a satellite senior center? Because right now the senior center is on the way into Squantum, and it's difficult for someone across the city to get to the Kennedy Center. So would you support and push the city to do something like that?
Yeah, I do. I do support that.
A question to you about Quincy as a city on the coastline has to be concerned with environmental issues such as the rising sea levels, coastal erosion. What are your thoughts, and what would your plans on the city council be for that?
The sea, I don't hear about that. But I don't have plan to do about that. But I will find out. After I be elected, I will do something about it. I will find the answer for you.
Okay. Last question here, and this was one that was submitted. The city has had some residential development in Quincy Center and some of the other parts of the city, but not much in terms of commercial development. So what are your thoughts there? What would be your plan, and how would you push for more commercial development to come into Quincy and bolster the city's tax base there.
Commercial things, I think we need to raise tax for them, and I believe our city need more quiet place and need more people visit. And about commercial things, I'm not familiar, and I would like to find out. I will do more on that. A lot of things I don't know about, but I am willing to serve public. This is my challenge job, and this is my first government job. So I want to do a good job for you.
Well, thank you for stepping up and taking this on. It's not easy to do, so I really appreciate you, and I think everyone here does. And thank you very much. And our next candidate is going to be School Committee Member Ann Mahoney.
Thank you very much, Mark. Can everybody hear? No. You shut it off? All right. Is this better? Can you hear me now? Yeah. Well, thank you very much to the Merrymount Association for having the candidates night tonight. It's a very important night because it's an opportunity for all of you to meet all of the people who are putting their names on the ballot. And I thank all of those who are doing that. It's very brave to step up and put your name on the ballot. And it's something that I've believed in. I've been on the school committee for the last 12 years, for those of you who don't know that. I'm going to go back a little bit, though, just to let you know. I'm a Quincy resident. I was born and raised here in Quincy. I was a Mulligan before I was a Mahoney. And I told my husband a long time ago, the one house I want to live in is on Farrader Street in Quincy. It was my great-grandparents' house. It was built in 1890. I'm very proud to live in that house. We've raised 3 children in that house. 12 years ago, when I ran for school committee, it was because of something that's also bringing me to the Councillor at Large race. I realized when I asked questions, people would tell me, well, that's what you wanted. And they didn't ask me what I wanted, but yet I was being told, that's what I wanted. When talking to friends about this, we all had that same feeling, that the city of Quincy doesn't very often ask us what we want. We're told what we're getting. Now, when my kids were little, I used to have a saying, you get what you get, but you don't get upset. Well, when you're a taxpayer of the city of Quincy, you're due more respect than that. You should know what you're getting for the taxes that you're paying. So for many of you, you've known me on the school committee, and you also know me as a candidate for mayor. My mother likes to say, and she is somebody who encouraged me to run for this office, I'm somebody who gets knocked down, but I get back up. And I get back up because I believe in the city. So when the opportunity came up, when Joe Finn decided not to run, I decided to get back up. And I got back up because I believe in the city. And I believe in everybody who's sitting out here tonight. But I had to really think. I know what I'm worried about. I know the things that I haven't been asked. But I decided to take it on the road, like I always do. I came to your doors. And I call it a journey across the city of Quincy to learn what your needs are. And when I'm at your doors, and I know there's a few of you here, I've been at your doors, I ask you, what is it that you're concerned about the city? What do you love about our city so that we can keep those things in our city? And what is it that you think we should be paying attention to so I can be your representative? Because I truly believe what we're missing at the council and in government is representation. And I want to be your representation at city council. So I've listened to people and I've taken that informal survey and I have learned what the city of Quincy is in need of. The city of Quincy, single-family homeowners, I'm going to start with you. You are feeling a pinch that we've never felt before. Our assessed values are going up, which is a good thing for being a homeowner. But at the same time, we're increasing your taxes and we're spending it quick. Now, people don't mind paying taxes, but they want to know where it's going to, and they don't feel like they know. Development, we have a lot of it in Quincy. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to it, but it's a lot of it going on. And it's in every square inch of our city. And it's residential, but it's apartments. And people are worried. We're putting on all of these apartments. And right now, they're high expensive apartments. What is going to happen when the economy does turn, as we all know? Because we've been around. I've been around. I've seen the economy good and I've seen the economy bad, and I know it's going to go back to being bad sometime, and we have to be prepared for that. But the biggest concern, taxes and that development, but it's also traffic. We can't get out of the city. We can't get into the city when we need to get into it, but we can't get out of the city when we need to get out of it. And some of us have to get to work, and it's a big concern. People have shared that at the doors. They've shared a lot of things at the doors. Those are the top 3. I have a top 25, but I won't go through them all with you tonight. But those are the top pain points that they have. And they're looking for somebody to represent them at that city council. So now I'll tell you why I can be that person to represent you. I've worked very hard in my career. Not only am I a mom of 3, and I am saying that is probably the hardest job I've ever had. I have 3 children, like I said. One who's a graduate of college, starting her first full-time job. She just finished a fellowship in New York. I'm very proud of her. My son's a junior in college. And my youngest one is 10th grade, canning at Atlas Liquor tonight for North Quincy High School soccer team. That's the hard job. But I also have a degree in finance. Earned that degree all by myself, working 3 jobs to pay for myself to go to college. And I've worked for the last 25 plus years, full-time, as a mom, doing project management, marketing, and using that degree in finance. I'm responsible for large budgets for organizations and breaking down silos and making people work together. That is something we need on the city council. It only enhances our city if we ask questions and we push the button just a little bit to make sure that those projects that we're putting online are the right projects for the city of Quincy, that they're enhancing our neighborhoods, that they're aesthetically pleasing, and that we've made plans on how we're going to be able to move around our city. Questions like that need to be asked, and they need to be asked for you. When I was on the school committee, I asked those questions. When all of my colleagues were saying yes, every once in a while, I was saying no. And I was saying no because it wasn't right. I was one who said no to the superintendent's contract. Why? Because he didn't have a review. Everybody said he worked really hard. I agreed, but we have to review him. We have to review him because we have to review the teachers. And if those teachers are going to be held to a standard, we have to hold him to a standard too. And now we always review the superintendent. When it came to 4th graders in middle school, everybody said he was a superintendent. He's got his PhD. It's what we want. It's what they want. I said, no. We can't be putting 10-year-olds in 4th grade in middle school. It's wrong. It's only one section of the city. We have to treat everybody the same way. And when it comes to our city council, we have to take that same initiative and not be afraid to push back. Because sometimes, I don't know about you, but in my house, not everybody's unanimous. You know, when it comes to dinner, not everybody's unanimous. But again, if I'm cooking, you get what you get. You don't get upset. But the reality is this. Pushback doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Every once in a while, when you push back, you get a better product. And we need to start pushing back in Quincy. And who do we need to start pushing back for? For the single-family taxpayers in the city of Quincy who are bearing the burden right now. We were promised with all this development it was going to be beneficial to us. The benefit has been traffic. We can't get out of the city. And we're talking about doing a traffic study. I think we might be late. But how can we fix it going forward? We can start by electing Ann Mahoney to the city council, and we can start looking at how other communities are doing it right. I can tell you that in Salem, they're doing smart traffic. What does that mean? They're instituting a traffic, it's happening right now, where the lights are working with smart traffic initiatives so that you can move those people along. Right now, we don't have that. We don't even know how to move through the city because we're not sure how the lights actually work. Maybe we should have educated people on that before we put that in. We also have an MBTA that's going to be closing down. We're not sure when exactly, but that's going to be happening too. And we have not made those plans yet for how it's going to impact our neighborhoods. We need people to ask those questions so, again, we can survive in the city. We want the change, and change is hard. But if you do it correctly, it can make it a little bit easier for the people who live in the city of Quincy. What I also like to say is my day job is not in the city. I'm not beholden to anybody in the city of Quincy. And why is that important to you, the voters of the city of Quincy? It's important to you because when you elect people into your government, you want to make sure they're representing you. That there's no special interest anyplace else that they might be thinking about just for themselves or somebody else. You want to make sure they're thinking about you. They're taking care of you. They're making their individual choices for you. And when I can't make those individual choices for you, or when I can't get everybody else to work with me, not to worry. If it's something that's really important, and I'll know if it's really important because I've knocked at each and every one of your doors, I'll let you know. And I'll invite you to City Hall so that we can have a discussion together. That's how we build a strong community, by having buy-in to what's happening in our homes. In our homes, we do that. In our city, we have to treat it like it's our home. And we want it to stay as strong as it is, because Quincy is a great city. And it has challenges. And it deserves to be treated with respect. And that respect is the people who you elect into office. And I'm going to respectfully ask for you to support me so I can go into that office and be your representative. I'm going to continue walking and knocking in the city of Quincy and listening to what people's needs are. And I'm always open to the conversation. If you need a flyer here tonight, I know my husband's walking around. He has my flyer. I tell people all the time, on the back of that flyer is my cell phone. You can call me. I return my calls. And people do call me. They call me all the time. And I do help them. And I want to help each and every one of you. And I want to be your representative. And I will be in that independent voice. And I promise to work very hard for you. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mark and let Mark ask me a few questions.
Thank you. So we have time for a question or two here. And this one comes from me. So our current president, not of the Association of the United States, campaigned on making America great again. So my question is, how do we make Quincy fun again? And let me unpack that. Quincy has some amazing historical sites. It has the coastline. It has the Blue Hills. It does not have entertainment and cultural options. I can't, in Quincy, go to a movie. I can't go to a concert. I can't go to a theater show. I can't go to play mini golf. I can't go to a brewery. I can't go to a distillery. All of that, I leave Quincy and I spend my tax dollars elsewhere. So what are your thoughts on that, and where would you put your energy and efforts, and how do you think that that could be increased for Quincy?
So thank you, Mark. So you touched upon something that's near and dear to my heart. I told you that I have a background in marketing, and we do need to market the city of Quincy. We do have beautiful coastlines, and we do have historic areas for us to go to. One of the things that we could do to bring economic development to the city is that ferry into Boston. We could get that ferry into Boston be regular, and we could put our tourism over in Marina Bay. We could actually bring some tourists right here from Boston into Quincy and bring them around. And what that does is it drives the economy in the city of Quincy. And that economy is driven by the needs of what our residents are. And when we know what we want, we can go after it. So some of the things that you talked about, I believe we should already have. If we actually focused on some of those things for the downtown, we could already have some of those kid-friendly things that are happening in the downtown. Splash Park or something of that nature. But we don't, because we don't think about those things. We don't ask the constituents of the city of Quincy what it is we need, so we're not doing it. But we have to encourage those conversations and start actually doing those things so we can keep people here in the city of Quincy, spending their hard-earned dollars here in the city of Quincy, enhancing those restaurants by going to those restaurants, and keeping people here in the city of Quincy. I can't tell you how many people I see outside of the city of Quincy. And I market myself outside of the city of Quincy. I'm talking to people on the trains and the buses. You name it, I'm talking to you. At Wegmans and Westwood, at Whole Foods, at Darby Street. That's where our Quincy residents are. They're not shopping here. And you're saying yes to me. And I was told a long time ago we don't have those stores here in Quincy because we don't have the right demographics. Well, guess what? If we're marketing $2,500 to $3,500 apartments, we have the right demographics. And if we want to keep our young families here in Quincy, we better start actually managing the things that we have and start bringing those things in. So I think we need to market the city of Quincy. I think we have to let people know in businesses that we're a friendly city to work in. I'm going to just tell a quick story. When my husband and I ran our own business, we came to Quincy. This is back, my daughter's 22, so it would have been about 20 years ago. We were looking for a realtor. And they didn't know what we did. We were graphic designers. He was a graphic designer. And they were like, what is that? What's the web? I know, Mark, that's how old I am. They were worried about what we were doing. You know, we weren't doing anything that people in Boston were doing. Now we're very excited. We have film houses in Quincy. We get excited about that. But we weren't really encouraged to come to Quincy because we weren't fitting the norm of what the businesses were. Well, we have to start inviting businesses to Quincy. We have a lot of storefronts that are empty. And the way we bring those storefronts in is we can create economic development by having garage to storefront business opportunities for those. And it will bring in some of those kid-friendly things. And I believe truly that we have to do that. Or young families like Mark, although he's on the ballot, will not be encouraged to stay here.
All right, thank you. So we're at 15 minutes. So let's give Ann a round of applause tonight.
Is that
That's it. All right, our next candidate to